If I am confused, that's okay. I'm allowed to be confused, but I personally do not feel confused. It is probably just you.
On a 2-hour run, Skylar can go through up to a dozen dumpsters, on the hunt for fresh produce, baked goods, canned foods, or whatever else can be salvaged.
We had a pledge of $1,000, so I'm gonna have a tattoo of someone's name on my bum.
All right, everyone, let's get the show on the road. Megan, what do you guys have for us?
Our friend Oliver writes a blog for one of Concordia's student newspapers. He's trying to get people talking about gender.
We wanted to tell Oliver's story because he's such a passionate and engaging character.
Hey, I'm Oliver Leon. I'm 20 years old. I think gender is really, really ambiguous and more complex than we give credit for. So I want to talk about that. Let's talk about gender.
Oliver wants to be fully acknowledged as a man. But although he looks like a male and identifies with the male gender, Oliver's passport lists him as female, the sex he was assigned at birth. He's reluctant to talk about his childhood, telling me that chapter of his life is closed now. He began his transition from female to male a year ago when he came to Concordia University. At Concordia, Oliver has found creative ways to document his journey and start his own dialogue about gender. His weekly column for student newspaper The Link is called That Transsexual Guy. It has been a driving force behind his activism on gender.
My goal for the column, I guess, is just to educate people and talk about gender and deconstruct gender and make people realize that gender is really, really fucking complicated and affects people in many different ways.
On the Link's website, Oliver has posted an informative and engaging video on the right way to relate to someone who is transsexual.
You're just confused. And if I am confused, that's okay. I'm allowed to be confused, but I personally do not feel confused. It is probably just you.
But Oliver's changes brought on some difficult times. Before starting his testosterone treatment, he fell into a deep depression. Survival, he told me, meant finding any reason, however small, to keep living.
Why am I staying alive? And then I thought about Paris and how, I would be so mad at myself if I died and didn't go back to Paris and eat crepes.
Oliver believes unequal access to hormone replacement and surgery is a cause of the high rate of depression among transgender people. His friend and mentor, Gabrielle Bouchard, is with Concordia's Center for Gender Advocacy. She says all transgender individuals share a daily struggle against prejudice.
You constantly think about these strategies that you have to put in place. It's a daily struggle that can slowly become better, easier, less stressful, less marginalizing. But it takes time, and it takes its toll on people.
Oliver now faces another very important decision. Quebec law states that transsexuals must have their reproductive organs removed in order to officially change gender, and have that gender indicated on one's official documents. Oliver considers this policy a serious violation of his rights.
So I have to have a hysterectomy in order for my gender marker to be changed from female to male. And I think it's bullshit, and that if people want a hysterectomy or whatever they need to pursue their transition, that's fine, but they should have a choice. It shouldn't be required by law.
Julia Jones is a close friend and colleague of Oliver's at the Link newspaper. She agrees that the government shouldn't determine your gender on the basis of your reproductive organs.
The government shouldn't be telling you what gender you are. And it's no one's business what's in your pants. I don't think that, putting male or female on a passport makes it more legitimate than, having the gender that's not correspondent.
Oliver's frustrations and experiences have inspired him to reach out and educate others about what it's like to feel trapped in the wrong body. He believes that rethinking our traditional ideas about gender is essential for our society to become a more inclusive place.
You're standing on a hill overlooking your favorite city, and there was all fog, and you just can't make out anything. And then on testosterone, it's like the fog is lifted, and it's good.
Has anyone heard of dumpster diving? Most people kind of know what it is, but what's new about it is that it's moving into middle-class kids. There are people who just live off the discarded waste that grocery stores throw away.
So they eat garbage?
Yes and no. It wouldn't really be considered garbage if it wasn't presented that way. You know what they say, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So we sent our reporter Andrea Zollner to kind of take a look at what's going on.
While some may use it as a dumpster, others use it as a pantry. The truth is, every day, grocery stores, drugstores, and bakeries throw up perfectly edible food. If you know how to sift through the garbage, you can find a week's worth of groceries, so I've been told. But I wanted to find out for myself. I'm going to meet up with Skylar, a veteran dumpster diver, who's going to take me along on one of his weekly runs.
We're behind the dump truck because there's a lot of empties.
But we're off to a rough start. Since we're after the same treasure, it's a race against the dump trucks. Finally, we find the trucks. If we're to find anything tonight, we have to pick up the pace. We wedge ourselves past them and pull ahead. There are more than 100 divers, young and old, in Montreal. On a 2-hour run, Skylar can go through up to a dozen dumpsters, on the hunt for fresh produce, baked goods, canned foods, or whatever else can be salvaged.
I actually have enough money to buy food usually, but, you know, I can buy other stuff, I can save money, I can do other things when I find tons and tons of food in dumpsters, right? Oh. There you go, last box. Oh, you can put it on the ground.
Yeah.
Sure.
This is when it's handy to go with someone.
Exactly.
Nothing looks gross, and even if they're not like the kind of apples that you would bite into, you know, they look kind of like old and wrinkly. These, however, are maybe past their due date. They already look like they're applesauce, so I'm not really into that. I have my limits.
So why does perfectly good produce get thrown out?
You can see, often with things like this, they get thrown out because a few in the container are bad, but I mean, most of these are like firm even still, right?
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with these. But it's packaging, right? They come in whole containers like these, and if a few of them are bad, then it's, why do that? So,
It's kind of like picking it in the grocery store, because you're kind of looking for the ones that are firmer, the ones that look the best, that have the brightest color. But instead of like picking it off the shelf, you're picking it from the dumpster.
Yeah, exactly.
At first glance, I'd pass on this bin. Everything looks rotten and has a funky smell. Unlike the apples that were sitting in boxes, this dumpster is going to take a little more digging. Tonight, the payoff is worth it. The first rule of dumpster diving is don't disclose locations. Inexperienced or inconsiderate divers might not know that leaving a mess, making noise, or something as simple as forgetting to close a lid can cause store owners to lock their dumpster. For other divers, this means one less spot to scavenge.
It's not like grocery shopping where you sort of can go to the store and like know you're going to leave with food, right? It's like you do this.
It's a risk.
Yeah.
You're taking a chance.
I mean, I'd say at this point I've scavenged thousands of dollars worth of food.
In total, we managed to visit 12 dumpsters tonight, but it's late, we're cold, and hungry, so let's go make something with our finds. Tonight will be a classic dive and dine. So we're washing these vegetables to make pizza with the tomatoes that we found, with the peppers that we found, and with the dough. So it's getting back from a dumpster dive run, kind of like Halloween, like you pour out all your loot on the ground and sort it and swap.
And trade with friends and see who wants what and who doesn't like certain things. It's exactly like that. It's Halloween all year round. When you go to the grocery store and it's wrapped in plastic and it's so easy, you just like grab it and put it in your cart or your basket and hand someone some money and they scan it and it comes out. It's like, it feels very much like a product. Like, you know, you are alienated from your food to some extent. I had to find this food. I like rummaged through things. I picked it out. Like, I picked out this one pepper among these dozen peppers. The number of times I say that when I'm dumpstering, it's like, why would anyone throw this pepper out? This one is so gorgeous and so orange and it looks beautiful and smells delicious and it's so ripe.
It took a lot of time and energy to make this pizza, something I could just buy frozen and pop in the oven. Does it taste delicious? Yes. Is it rewarding? Yes. Did I save money? Absolutely. Would I take up dumpster diving? It's something to consider.
Great story, guys. So what do we have next? Stefano, what do you guys look into?
Well, I don't know if there are any smokers in the room, but I'm sure you've all noticed those hideous labels on cigarette packs. But as ugly as they've been, they have worked. I mean, smoking rates have been reduced.
Yeah, but anti-smoking groups want to take it even further. They're proposing that Quebec follow in Australia's footsteps in terms of packaging. What we have now just isn't cutting it.
Barb Tarbox got her dying wish to be the cover girl for cigarette packages. One of the most well-known anti-smoking activists in Canada, 42-year-old Tarbox died in May 2003 from lung cancer and brain cancer.
All these products are deadly, poisonous, and addictive.
Florie Ducas is the co-director and spokesperson for the Quebec Coalition for Tobacco Control. Ducas and countless others are fighting for Canada to follow Australia's lead, requiring cigarettes to be sold in olive green packages with large graphic health warnings and a standardized font for the brand name.
Health groups in Quebec are asking the government to imitate that of Australia and put in a policy that's known as plain packaging. And so as governments have tried to reduce the appeal of these products, the tobacco industry is reacting with packs that will kind of open like cell phones, these slim packs, and all this positive imagery. So yeah, we are hoping to have a generic pack in Quebec, and essentially that's a measure that's being asked for by all Canadian health groups.
And progress has been made. In 2011, 20% of Canadians aged 12 and older smoked, which is down from 26% in 2001.
In 2001, the federal government put images on packs for the first time. It was actually a world precedent.
And that's not all. As of June 2012,
they went from the 50% to 75% of the pack. That's certainly really important, but what studies show is that you constantly have to renew this because they get stale.
So how much of an impact do the graphic photos have on smokers?
The anti-smoking images definitely do bother me or disturb me, but it hasn't really impacted my amount of smoking.
If it's really disgusting, the picture, I'll just ask the person who's selling me the cigarettes to pick a different pack with a different picture.
Lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer death for both men and women. This year alone, it is estimated that over 25,000 Canadians will be diagnosed with lung cancer and more than 20,000 will die of it.
It extremely scares me, but I continue to smoke mostly from addiction and also because I kind of like to smoke.
It's a huge burden on society, and it's a huge burden on families, and we do hope that government will be vigilant and won't back down thinking that we've won this war, because clearly the tobacco industry is still out there doing all its marketing.
Barb's husband, Pat Tarbox, is thrilled that his wife's photos are on cigarette packages. He said, "We look forward to seeing fewer and fewer youth smokers, just what she wanted." However, if Barb's wish really came true, she wouldn't be on cigarette packages because they would no longer exist.
Canada's 3 biggest cigarette companies are now facing the biggest class action case in Canadian history against a group representing the nearly 2 million smokers in Quebec. The civil suit is worth up to $27 billion.
Okay, so we have a story that we think is pretty good. However, it's not so much about cigarettes and smoking.
Yeah, we were thinking more, well, lollipops and kittens.
And we fell totally in love with the kittens.
It's a rainy Saturday morning in Montreal, but at Animal Vert, pet lovers have gathered to take home a slice of sunshine. It's Cat Adoption Day. This is Barbara Lisbona, the creator of the Animal Rescue Network.
It's going very well. I'm pretty happy.
How many adoptions?
4 so far.
4 so far.
Yeah.
On any given day, Montrealers can see hundreds of homeless cats roaming around back alleyways like this one. Now, I'm a huge cat lover, and it makes me really upset to think many of these pets aren't going to make it through the winter frost. But luckily, there are people like Barbara.
This is one of the cat shelters that's part of the Animal Rescue Network. At its location in Rosemont, it hosts 320 cats. Barbara opened the shelter in 1994 after witnessing how cats were mistreated at the SPCA.
So I would see the paws coming out of the cage, begging me, touching me, crying at me, and I would go back to see that cat, and they were all gone in a week. So the cats always outnumbered the dogs in terms of the animals that were abandoned, and they were the first to be put down. So I rescued some cats that were going to be euthanized after a while, and I sort of ended up just by falling into it with a bunch of cats that I had to place, and that's how I started.
Barbara spent most of her free time creating what she hoped would become the perfect cat shelter. The shelter is divided in two, with one half acting like a hospital. Here there are cats separated into wards based on their diseases, but all of them will receive the medication they need. Running a volunteer animal shelter means many expenses: food, medication, rent. This adds up to about $10,000 a month, but Barbara receives all of her funds from public donations, as help from the government is hard to come by.
Most of the government politicians, I'm sorry to say, care squat about animals. Animals don't vote.
But maybe they should care, since Montreal is the worst city in Canada for pet abandonment.
The statistics actually are something like 1 million cats in Montreal that are stray and abandoned.
Every year, the shelter finds a home for around 250 cats, many of them during adoption days like this one. These cats are so sweet that even a member of our own camera crew decided to take one home.
It just felt like the right time, and I enjoy cats, so why not?
People feel gratified, it's fulfilling, you know you're making a difference, and the animals give so much back to you. They love you, they appreciate it. Animals that are taken off the street and have suffered are different. They really seem to sense that they've been saved, and they give you back so much appreciation and love.
And some of us know there's nothing better than a little cat love.
So Adrian, how's the little guy doing?
He's great. He's happy, healthy, and full of energy.
So we have another idea I'd like to throw out there. I'm sure you guys have heard of parkour, also known as free running. It's basically a combination of running and acrobatics.
Yeah, it started in France, and now it's become a worldwide phenomenon. I know this guy in Montreal. I went to talk to him, and he showed me a thing or two about parkour. Parkour is a sport that is growing in popularity across the world. 21-year-old Montrealer Bassem Barhoumi is a parkour tracer. He told me he's been practicing parkour for 7 years.
I was with a friend, and we were coming actually back on a bus at 1 in the morning. Actually, we left the party. And he asked me, you want to go jogging? Don't ask me why. I guess everything happens for a reason, right? So we went jogging, and we just decided to jump things here and there. I mean, it wasn't your average jog. We decided to jump off little stairs that we saw, off trees, off, infrastructure in the entrance of buildings, and we loved it until I was actually at a point where we were with some more friends, and we were bored again. We were doing it, hanging out after school. One of them actually told me, you do parkour. I had no idea what she was talking about. I had no idea there was this whole world out there.
This training discipline focuses on overcoming obstacles. It involves moving from point A to point B in the fastest and most efficient way possible. It combines a variety of movements like running, climbing, swinging, vaulting, leaping, and rolling. Mastering it demands a lot of dedication.
Physically, I'm doing it at least 4 or 5 times a week, especially during summer. But mentally and emotionally, it's 24/7. I mean, it is a lifestyle. You don't stop practicing.
Movie director Eddie Tarby met Bassem through a common friend. In their first encounter, Bassem quickly impressed Eddie with his parkour skills.
I just asked him straight up, show me what you could do. Out of nowhere, he sees this picnic table, and I'm like, he just looks at it, and he has this intense look on his face, and he just starts running towards it. I'm like, what's going on here? And he just dives into it, and I'm like, this guy's gonna kill himself. He holds onto the other end of the table and just catapults himself, and then lands on the floor, no problem. And from that moment, I knew I was dealing with something special, and that I had a lot more freedom what we were able to do in the film.
Bassem is the only character in Marble Labyrinth. He is dropped into an enclosed space that moves in every which way. Bassem's character reacts to his moving surroundings. I had to ask Bassem what his family and friends had to say about his death-defying lifestyle.
From people who care about you just for safety reasons, they're going to tell you to stop. They're going to tell you to be safe about it. I had other people tell me you're absolutely insane. I had other people think I was trying to suicide at the top of a building, jumping forth. And other people show amazing amount of support and respect.
He really opened my eyes up to a lot of the aspects of it. It's not just a sport, it's really a lifestyle. Like, it really encompasses everything that he thinks, everything that he does.
Despite all of his experience, the fear never really goes away. It's a question of getting the fear to work for you rather than against you.
When you're put in a position where your whole body's fighting against you, when you're on the edge of a roof and you know this could potentially be life or death, or potentially be very painful if it goes wrong. It hurts much more with a broken heart to walk away from a jump than when you know you're ready, you know you've done this before, you know it's a distance you can handle, and you didn't do it because of fear. I'd rather risk breaking my legs than my heart.
So how are you feeling the next day?
Pretty bruised and battered, but I think it was worth it. So it may not come as a big surprise to most of you, but Matt and I share a pretty big common love for heavy music, you know, hardcore, metal, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we all know the state of music nowadays. It's really easy for bands to make music, but it's a lot harder to get it out there. So we know these guys in a band called Endast, and they used crowdsourcing in order to fund their most recent project and get the exposure they deserve.
All right, what's up, everybody? This is Endast. We've sort of hit an impasse in that we're going to need a little bit of help to finish the production of the album. It's a little expensive to do these kinds of things, and so we're going to need to raise some funds.
Endast named itself after the Icelandic word for enduring, appropriate considering they've been touring hard as an independent group for about 10 years. This year, the band used crowdfunding to finance their new album. To tell us about it, longtime members Big James, Chris, and Pepe sat down with us at their jam space in downtown Montreal.
Crowdfunding is essentially a resource that's sort of new on the scene to independent musicians that allows us to essentially offer a pre-sale of a project. And the money goes directly towards the production of the project. And the additional element to this is that you can also offer other incentives and experiences and just cool interactions with the band for different prices.
Fans paid to have Endast personalize their answering machine message, commission unique band photos, and a lot more. Music lovers from across North America contributed to the project on pledgemusic.com. One fan was especially supportive.
Right at the 11th hour, it sort of really picked up a lot. And we had a pledge of $1,000, which brought us well over our goal. And the incentive for that was a tattoo of the person's name on my rear end, on my bum parts. So I'm gonna have a tattoo of someone's name on my bum.
Crowdfunding is generally described as a way to raise money for worthy causes. Critics say bands who use crowdfunding are asking for a handout.
We had a bit of a battle with a writer from Vancouver who was very, very rude and called out a few bands specifically, essentially slandering crowdfunding and explaining to people that it's just a handout and that he was not going to pay for our hookers and blow, and honestly it's not.
Just clearly didn't get it. Record labels are not exactly dishing out tons of cash to make CDs anymore, so this is it's such a cool way to help bands do what they want to do. And not only that, it's just to be a fan of a band and help make that happen. How cool is that? Seriously.
Crowdfunding was ideal for Endast as part of the niche heavy metal market. Endast believes it gave them a necessary edge in today's oversaturated market. The process also allowed them to create a special bond with their fans.
I think our fans really feel like they have a hand in our success, and it's at the end of the day that just makes a stronger fan base and a more loyal fan base, and we owe everything to them. I mean, every musician does, but us maybe more so than others, and we love that. We wouldn't have it any other way.
It's also fun to see what the fans are really want us to do, like just like stupid stuff, and
like getting a tattoo
Yeah.
on your bum.
Well, he's got a lot of room to fund some music on there. But all right, let's wrap it up, guys. Great work today, and keep those stories coming in.